An Israeli court has opened the trial of former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, who's accused of fraud and corruption. He's the country's first premier to find himself in the dock. Palestinians, however, accuse him of different crimes, with many seeing him as responsible for atrocities in Gaza. Paula Slayer has the story.
Anger on the streets of Israel against one of the most unpopular prime ministers in the country's history. Protesters accuse Ehud Olmert of being a war criminal for starting 2 military conflicts during his 3 years in office. But the blame's not directed entirely at him.
The Israeli media failed in this war. They told a story about a different war.
These demonstrations across Israeli cities were never shown on local television. Israeli media chose to downplay Olmert, the possible war criminal, for Olmert, the liar and the cheat. Pick up any newspaper in Israel and Olmert's picture is on the front page. The reports focus on the charges against him: fraud, corruption, breach of trust, to concealing fraudulent earnings. If he's found guilty, Olmert could spend time behind bars. But that won't satisfy Palestinians in Gaza. They want him convicted of war crimes for his part in the 2008 conflict. Journalist Sami Abu Salem believes Olmert approved the deliberate attack of hospitals and the use of illegal weapons against civilian targets. And he's determined to keep these allegations in the headlines.
Israel is exaggerating the story about Olmert's corruption charges and also about other high-ranking people. The list of corrupt officials in Israel is big. There's much talk about court hearings, about legal infringements and moral actions. But what about the victims? The children who were murdered here in Gaza? What is more important, an individual or corruption and money?
But Israeli journalists are penning a different story. Like their readers, they don't consider Olmert a war criminal and say his story is more about a powerful man's fall from grace.
I think that in many cases, not in all of them, but in many cases, the media smells blood and they react to that. I don't know. I'm not sure. There are journalists who liked him a lot. Some of them turned against him, as the stories about him became more prominent, and also there became more of them. It doesn't happen to everyone. It depends how popular the politician is, but it's happened to other people too.
Olmert heads a long list of Israeli public servants who've appeared in court. His former finance minister was sentenced to 5 years for embezzlement. Former President Moshe Katsav is being tried for rape and sexual harassment. And the current Israeli foreign minister Avigdor Lieberman is being investigated for money laundering and bribery.
Unfortunately, in Israel, like in many other states, the trial does not only stay in the courtroom. There are also vested interests people have. Politically, many people wanted Olmert removed from office. The prosecution will not allow itself to lose after removing a prime minister from office. And that is why they will do everything they can to convict him of at least something.
Peace activist Ina Michaeli says the Israeli public is taught what to think by a media that is as brainwashed as it is.
But in every society you have a range of legitimate positions to hold. Here, during the war, not agreeing with your government, which is a basic democratic right, not to say basic democratic duty when you disagree to express it, here it was considered treason.
Olmert is the first Israeli prime minister ever to go on trial. Whatever the outcome and how he'll be remembered in history, he already is the most investigated premier in Israel's history. Paula Slayer, RT, Israel.